Hello, everyone. Welcome to another edition of Sunlight Soul. I'm Aaron,
And Mila.
and we're going to pull some cards on the after effects of the Scorpio full moon that we just had on May 1st. Today is the 2nd of May, and we celebrated Beltane with a full moon in Scorpio. And how were you feeling that?
Well, we've been traveling, so we are just going back down to Earth, obviously Taurus season. And yeah, I just had my solar return, so it's all very interesting energy at play for me anyway. And yeah, we are just seeing what comes up. Obviously, for us in the present moment in time recording this, Mercury is still on the final minutes of Aries, but will be soon moving into the sign of Taurus. So things will kind of start maybe settling because we have now Mercury, the ruler of Uranus. Uranus is a sign of Gemini, and of course, Mercury is still the ruler of the South Node. So there are a lot of things going on in the sky. We still have more transition to take place in the upcoming months. Chiron is going to be moving into the sign of Leo next month. No, Chiron, Taurus, and then Jupiter into the sign of Leo at the beginning of July or end of June if you are in US and stuff. So anyway, so with Scorpio full moon, I feel that this is really an illumination of everything that still needs to be transformed in order to get where we're going with all these new energies of Saturn, Neptune in a sign of Aries, now Uranus back in a sign of Gemini. And as I mentioned, there are a few more ingresses that we have in the upcoming few months. And then by August, we are in this new energy. So I feel that this Scorpio full moon, because there are so many squares at play during this lunation, especially the square from Pluto, I believe it was, right? And then also there were some squares between Mars and Jupiter and Mercury conjunct Chiron to Jupiter and stuff. So a lot of squares. So there is a lot of pressure, which we all feel in individually and collectively. And this is once again showing us where we externalize our power, where we feel that like somebody else hold the key to our destiny or something. So yeah, so I feel that many of us are feeling this, and obviously being in Taurus season, it is all being embodied.
Yeah, yeah. So we're finding the form. We're embodying this transmutational energy here. And with Mercury in a new phase conjunction to that Chiron, about to head ingress into Taurus with Venus in the sign of Gemini, we're going to have this mutual reception. It's like, what is the choice? It's dependent on the value of yourself and how you embody that in this world. And a lot of that freedom of choice is just information. And it's not what data, what information is presented on the table, it's what's underneath. So getting into that Scorpio energy, you got to go within yourself. You got to see past the shadows of your projections, of the stories of the past, and pull up the value of what it means to be alive. What's the value of the felt presence of experience? And if you're not happy with how that feels embodied in your life, make the changes to make it better. So hopefully we can get some insights and some guidance on these times with the cards.
And we are using decks we've never used before because I'm back in my in my place where I source all my decks. So yeah, we have some new ones to play with. So let's see what energies will come up to give us more clarity with regards to these after effects. And Moon is moving into the sign of Sagittarius in the early hours of Sunday morning. So hopefully by then we will have more clarity because then Moon will be in a mutual reception with Jupiter, who is still in a sign of Cancer at the moment. So okay, I guess we start in with this one. So this is the Shadow and Light Oracle. So Premiere, never used this one before, so let's see what comes up. Aaron is disappearing.
I'm morphing out, going Scorpio mode. All right, here we go.
All right, so let's see. So Scorpio full moon after effects, the shadow and the light, what light wants to be illuminated, or what is the shadow that wants to come back to light? All right, we have conflict and peace, number 34, which adds up to number 7. We
Hmm.
can see even this person is morphing in and out of the picture. And then at the bottom of the deck, we have reflection and overthinking, and that's a number 4.
Hmm.
And also we can see a lot of fire here. And we are in the year of the fire horse, of course, now with the Saturn and Neptune both in the sign of Aries. Um,
Mm.
yeah, reflection and overthinking. So I feel I start with this one because I feel that this is what many of us are experiencing at the moment because of Uranus being back in a sign of Gemini and Mercury still being a sign of Aries as we're recording this, but soon to be moving into the sign of Taurus, where, yeah, you could say Mercury will slow down, but also it will make us to really embody um, the information that we've been gathering, and with Uranus now in a sign of Gemini as the ruler of Pluto, we really are forced to make a choice which way are we going. So there is a lot of overthinking going on potentially, but with the water, and we know that with all of these energies, even though they are deeply masculine, we are actually still expanding through intuition and through connection to the divine feminine, because Jupiter is still the core ruler of the North Node, currently being the sign of Pisces. So I feel with regards to this card and what we're looking at, that the mind cannot take us any further. The mind, the overthinking, the thinking of the old patterns, the repeating of the old storylines, it took us as far as it goes. But actually, with regards to moving somewhere further, somewhere beyond the patterns of the past, there is a new software that needs to be applied, and that one is not in our mind. So we have to reflect, what is actually that energy within us that is forcing us forward, which is, yes, the passion, the desire of our heart, which is the unconditional love of the universe, and reflect on how do I actually feel. So all of these things that are happening in the outer world, which I feel is connected to this one, the conflict and peace, the world will show you whatever it is that you need to see in order to come to balance. So the polarity. So yes, we can see conflict in the world, and that creates the desire for peace. So we might be overthinking, like, okay, how will I come to this place? But actually, as we mentioned many times before, you cannot resolve the problem from the same place where the problem was created, right? So there is a different way, like we are forced to connect with something deeper than our mind and reflect on, okay, how can we create a different expression? How can we create a different experience of this situation? And I really feel with this full moon in Scorpio, and now, after effects, obviously, because full moon was an illumination, and I pointed out in my videos that we had the 6 new moons on 28 degrees, and now we experience in the full moon. This is a second of the six. This is the second full moon to the 6 new moons that were on 28 degrees. So, and the final one will be the full moon lunar eclipse in Pisces at the end of August. I believe it will be 26th or something. So anyway, all that said, what I feel is that now we are really for being forced to truly look at, like, what it is that is potentially preventing me or not enabling me to reset the way how we live in, how we experience in life. And also it's interesting that this person, like we were joking, it's here and it's not really here, because it's like tuning into the future version of yourself, which is not fully here yet, but it's already, it already exists. So we, through the situations we are experiencing, we are trying to create the balance and peace with what is, and at the same time to connect with the potential of what could be rather than what was. And yeah, and there is, a lot of a lot of overthinking with Uranus in Gemini. The mind is set on fire for sure. So how would you see these cards?
Yeah, and as you said, Jupiter is in Cancer, about to move into the third decan, the Piscean decan. And it is about dissolving what you thought you knew for what could be. This is the river of life. Cancer brings you through all the emotional flows, and you find the meanings underneath the reasons, which we build a mountain out of. And as you said, there's a lot of turmoil in this world, and a lot of it reflects the turmoil of ancient trauma loop echoes within us. And when we self-identify as an ism in relation to the polis, to the culture, to the society, we hold that charge, and we're performing roles. We're letting the emotions live through us in these relations. And so you got to get back to yourself and ask yourself, is this relation authentic, or is this a dynamic of friction between a sense of self from the past and a prophesized outcome of the future based off of a linear projection? which is what we get caught up in when we over-identify with external groups, when we get into group thinking. And it's okay to be into group thinking at times, but you got to pull yourself back to the authentic expression of you and realize that you're always here in this moment, but who you are in this moment is a portion of the past and a portion of the unknown. And the unknown is beyond the mind, beyond the replication. So it brings us to the dweller on the threshold, these emotional energies. And a lot of that is fear, shame, guilt. And that shows through judgment a lot of times. And, we judge things in order to understand them. We have to take every step one at a time. And we see that this fact or this truth is just a step in a progression. We can honor it for what it is right here, right now, but you have to know it's changing. But the only way that image of the past or the understanding of what could be changes is when you change. So you got to honor your own evolution, your own change for the better.
And what I just realized looking at these two cards, it's like a continuum and the reversal. Because like when you look at this water, you can see like, oh yeah, that's like that future self, the future self here in the water. So it feels to me because yes, like the fire horse now that is, the energy of the Chinese year that we are experiencing, the lunar year as of February, as of the new moon solar eclipse in Aquarius, like we were saying that whatever the snake didn't strip gently, the skin was being peeled off gradually, the fire horse will just burn. And the main thing that has to burn in a sense is our way of thinking. The old program, it had to be purified because what we think, what we believe, we become, right? Like the reality is created from our thoughts and our belief systems. So, like in a sense, in this card, it says reflection and overthinking. So, like, okay, how do we do this? So yeah, but like the mind wants to figure it out, but the mind cannot figure it out because where we're going is not the replication of the past, but the higher self. You can see the higher self actually reflected in the water, in the deep water of the knowing, of the consciousness. It's at peace. This higher self is not freaking over here. It's smiling like, oh yeah, don't worry, I got you. I got you. And this, like I said, it's like for me, this is like kind of the future self. You can see it's like a cosmic version of yourself, and the behind in the card it's like the happily ever after. You have like this house and nice meadow and stuff. So it's like, yeah, we all want peace. We all want harmony, experience like whatever that means for you. But at the moment the world is offering you the opposite. So it's saying like the program, it just will offer you like, look, this is not possible because of this and this. The database of the past, right? The archive of the past, the mind, it wants to survive, so it just keep replicating itself, right? So it can survive. But there is something within us that says like, well, but it doesn't have to be this way. It can be different way. And at some also in some way, like my higher self is at peace with everything that's happening because we know where we're going at some point. So it's just a matter of each person for themselves to figure out like what it is that works for me, that allows me to get to that point of neutrality, to that point of peace, to be at peace with all that is in my life and external life. And from that point of neutrality, the point of acceptance, that's where I can change it. I'm not going to change it when I'm all overwhelmed and thinking all these, terrible things. I'm not going to change it from that place of mind. I'm just adding to the same energy. In order to change anything, first I have to neutralize the energy. So there is the 0 point from which the new can be created. So that's what I feel like with the Scorpio full moon, because obviously Scorpio, and it was on the second decan, which is the Pisces decan, and the Sun in Taurus was on that Virgo decan. So we again had the activation of the Virgo Pisces axis and the 11th degree, which was the Aquarian degree. So it's saying we are breaking the patterns of the Piscean age, but we need to embody the how, and that is unique for each person, with the Mercury in Aries, with the Uranus in Gemini, it will be different for each person. And in order to realize what it is for you, you need to reflect, you need to connect to your emotion. And what a better place to do it than with Moon in Scorpio, like you really have to go deep. So this is where potentially some very strong emotions were stirred up. We might not even understand what really is going on, but you will understand eventually. I mean, now we'll start building up slowly but surely for the new moon in Taurus, and that will be happening on the final decan of Taurus, 25 degrees, which is the Capricorn. So, and we are in this energy of, Saturn in Aries. So it's saying, well, if you want to create and experience different reality, you have to take the responsibility for it, responsibility for your creation. And, number 4, which is Saturnian number. And here we have a 34, the creation and another 4, but also the 7, co-creating with the spirit, the higher self. And put together is the number 11, which is the year we will be experiencing next year, the year 2027.
And 11 was where the full moon was. So how do you
Exactly.
be a number one, a receptive one? So let's go micro to macro for a moment. Scorpio is about transmutation. But I mean, transmutation is a step towards transformation and transcendence. It's about starting something over, a cycle over. So think of the first decan, you can think of it as Scorpio. Second decan, you can think of as the snake. Third decan, you can think of as the eagle turning into the phoenix. So this micro to macro, when we find ourselves holding a conviction to who we are in relation with other people. Scorpio is transformed through Gemini, where Uranus is and Venus. And so we transform in relation to what we stare into. If you stare into the abyss, it stares into you. You do well not become the monsters you do battle with. But these are all parts of process. This is alchemy. Life is about change. It's about chaos and control and releasing what you think is a truth so that it can grow into something new. So think macro now, systems. System is a static, a slow fading static.
Mm.
But it's not alive. We keep changing it. We add on to it. We evolve it. We adapt it, mutate it to needs and ideals, which we think are important. But a static is floating on the river of life, which is highly dynamic. And when the system gets too heavy, it starts to sink. And then you got to throw cargo overboard. You got to throw the purity of the reason overboard. The meaning is lost. So now we have to pull back and find out what is the meaning of life for us. So let's pull some cards on this energy. I'm using a
Tarot of the Tarot of Dreams. Yeah, the
Tarot of
Tarot of
Dreams.
Dreams.
All right, so it looks like that makes us
The
a
back
bit.
of it.
All right, so let's see what information, what energies want to come forward here. And we will read them as they arise. Oh, here we go. All right. 5 of Cups right here. So this is the first, wow, it's very scorpionic. It's the first decan of Scorpio, 5 of Cups.
Says Mars in Scorpio,
Yeah.
the energy.
And right now Mars is in conjunction, it's home and rulership in Aries. And as you know, Mars rules Scorpio traditionally as well. And now that we're becoming more aware of ourselves, we could bring Pluto into the mix. What is the soul's evolutionary intention? What's the higher expression of this passion? Desire is what makes you live, what gets you through hard times, and it puts you in hard times as well. And sometimes you make decisions that seem wrong, but they're actually right. And maybe it's not, you're not getting what you want, but you're getting what you need in life. And it takes chronos, it takes the deprivation, it takes the negation, it takes lowest common denominator logic in order to understand what it is you actually deserve. You are not your experience. A lot of relation, a lot of people, a lot of systems show you who you are through who you are not. And here's
Six of
6 of Swords. And so as you might be aware,
Mercury in
Yeah,
Aquarius.
Mercury in Aquarius, Six of Swords, second decan of Aquarius. So
Gemini.
this is a square between Scorpio and Aquarius.
That's the Pluto to the full moon.
Yeah. Even though the Pluto is in the Five of Swords decan right now, it's in the first decan of Aquarius. But where are we going? So kind of forecast yourself as a dynamic being. You know, you are more than a god. You are mortal. You can perish. Okay, this means that you don't have to hold the conviction of a truth from the past. You can become something more. And with Scorpio, you can die many times in life. And this is actually what we could call growth. And when you put it together from a higher vantage point, from the Six of Swords, leaving one nightmare to enter into calm waters, into a sense of self, breaking beyond relation, then you just can call that transmutation change. That transformation becomes your motive in life, it becomes your action. You can fall into the actionless act, get into a sense of self unrelated to the past other than a progression. So you could see, okay, I come from this location, this is my culture, this is my family, here is my story, these are my experiences, but I'm actually much more than that. And it's dependent on how you view yourself, what your Four of Cups, what offers, what is worth your energy. In life, a lot of our relations, a lot of our situations, culture, systems, it's chosen because we don't know there are other options. And we don't know there are other options because we're living for something else a lot of times. We allow the roles to become us and live through us. But once you start to separate your sense of self from these statics in relation to a static system or a sense of self as you were, you can see that you're a much more and you can choose where you're going to put your energy. Is this situation, this person, this dynamic worth your love, worth your time, worth your energy? How can you pull it back and find what is true for you? So getting in a sense, getting into the sense of self, which is more authentic, becomes a sense you can move towards, and you can release what isn't you and move forward with that energy.
Was there any more you wanted to use from
No,
the deck? Okay, so for me, like Five of Cups, traditionally it's like crying over spilled milk, but this card, the creator refers to it as Mars in Scorpio. Five of Cups is the second decan, so five, one, two, three, first decan of Scorpio. So Scorpio, Scorpio, right?
mhm.
So in a sense, through the Five of Cups experience, which is like, okay, we upset about something that has passed, something that has gone, rotten or something. I mean, five is always the chaos agent. We are actually discovering what really matters, is the opposition. Taurus, Sun in Taurus, like what really holds a value, what really matters, like with this person, obviously, she's kind of like in the eight of like nine of swords kind of position, like, oh my God, nightmare, upset about something. But like through life experiences, usually the fives, in the minor arcana, they represent something which is not really desired. There are experiences that are difficult, challenges in life, but they are usually the ones that help us to grow, the ones that help us to change patterns. And it's interesting that that's the card that came afterwards, which was this Six of Swords. So usually, traditionally, this is the card where we are moving into the calmer waters, but this, depicts the Mercury in Aquarius, or it's actually the second decan of Aquarius, which is Gemini. So it says like it's the ability to break the pattern, but seeing, understanding that, okay, I don't have to repeat the same pattern. Actually I have the choice, just like with these ones that we pulled before, the reflection and overthinking, that I can actually break the pattern. I don't have to understand all the reasons. I don't have to understand all the information, but I know how I feel. I know what does and doesn't work for me. So in a sense, even the Four of Cups, which is the final decan of Cancer. So technically it should be Pisces, right? So it would be like, okay, there are things, like the cup, we are being offered the whole spectrum of emotion in life, but there are the building stone, like the four, the Saturn, to help us to understand, the totality, Pisces, the totality of human experience, of human emotions. So many times we are offered something, the cup, and we're like, well, why the fuck would I want this? I don't want this. I don't like this. Why would I choose this? We would even say, like, why would that person choose that? Why would that person do that to themselves? Why would they choose that experience? But what do I know about somebody else's path? Maybe that person needs to have that experience, go through that experience in order to gain some kind of tool or understanding or emotion to compassionate or whatever, for later on, which is interesting that we had the 4 and the 5 of cups. So, so there are things that, yes, that are happening in our life, inner and outer, micro to macro, that are not so enjoyable, that are not preferred. Like, no, I don't want this cup anymore. I've gone through this cup before. No, thanks. And then being upset about, like, why is this way? Why are we experiencing this? Why are we drowning in all this chaos and conflict and all these situations that are going on? But at the same time, there is a purpose and meaning to it. And that is that, well, you can always choose something different. You can choose to break that pattern. And, this was something I was talking about with Jupiter in Gemini and now Jupiter in Cancer. We are learning to master our thoughts and master our emotions. And once we can master these two things in our experience, you master the matrix. You mastered everything, because when the matrix no longer controls your thoughts and what you think about and how you think and what you believe, because you manage to center yourself enough not to be influenced or affected or hijacked by the external reality, but actually you are the conscious creator, the magician that says, like, no, I create my reality, then they can't do anything to you because you are the creator, right? And then also with the emotions, once I understand my emotions, and I, just like Aaron said, you're not your experience, you are not your emotion. Yes, you are part of, the emotion is part of your experience, and your experience is part of your walk in this earth as a fool, right? But that's not your I am essence, right? It's just a part of the experience. So that's why I feel like, these cards, these experiences we are having with the full moon Scorpio illumination of things that are potentially very intense, potentially very dark, potentially very shadowy, like we are shining light onto the shadow because the shadow wants to become the light again, right? We are also learning to recognize the pattern so we can break it, so we can make a different choice, like with the Uranus in Gemini. And now Uranus in Gemini, we can do that faster than ever before. Like, oh, yeah, I understand now. Maybe I don't understand the full picture, but I understand that this is up for me, like the swords, like the Archangel Michael. You are the only one who can break that pattern. Nobody can do it for you. And in order to do that, you have to make that choice. So everything that's unwanted and not so nice and pretty, and it's very deeply emotionally affecting us, because Jupiter in Cancer, we feel all the lunations very deeply, and they are being exaggerated. The emotions are exaggerated, so we really feel them, we really go through them. It's serving the purpose of moving away from these patterns, from this way of thinking, from this way of recreating reality over and over and over again. So yeah, that's what I, feel with that.
You want to pull from the other oracle deck?
Sure. So yeah, so this one is, we have interesting cards because they all have similar names. This one is the Sacred Light Oracle. So we're gonna shine some further light on that. All right, so Sacred Light Oracle guidance for the full moon in Scorpio after effects, with the sun today on 12 degrees of Taurus, the Pisces degree of the Virgo decan. Okay, well, there are quite a few. I take the top one, Crystal Kingdom. Slowing down materials and cycles and debris. All right.
It's glowing.
Celestial channel, hidden beauty and past life, cultural experience. Okay, these are all interesting. All right. So we see, like, this woman is interesting. It's like an empress, like pregnant. You can see the flower of life, the crystal kingdom number 10. We know we are in the year number 10. So in that material psychic debris, then the another one that came out was the celestial channel, hidden beauty, remaining optimistic, staying neutral. And we have more of the sacred geometry on her tattoos. And then at the bottom is the past life, a cultural experience. It is behind you, regression. And again, sacred geometry. We have a trumpet or something, and a lot of feathers. So, what do you see when you look at these cards?
Yeah, this is very Venusian card to me. And once you cut through all the bullshit of the world, once you are alone with yourself, you can tune into, you are aspects of the polarity, the light and the dark, and we have to get through digesting what it is we've gone through in order to find the light sometimes. And that's part of the process, but it doesn't rain every day. So whatever you can do to get you into this light energy where you can tune into the good within yourself, within this world, so that you can realize that, we're not all evil in this world. People aren't killing the planet. Maybe certain people are making decisions. Maybe certain people are possessed, but that's not you. That's not the vast majority of people. We're here learning through ignorance. So find the purity of your ignorance in this process and see what kind of dreams you can bring to life, what kind of purity you can bring into your awareness and live that way. And that brings us into that celestial channel energy. And what is a celestial channel? Just think of the cosmos. There's a lot of energy in relation to us. And the limit of what that is our conception. So you got to get beyond the mind. You got to get into the feeling. You have to fall into the felt presence of your experience and allow your imagination to rise and lead you. Gurus and teachers and practices can give you advisement and methods and theories, and you can learn from them, but you don't need to owe your process to something that's already been developed and theorized and practiced. We're in the age of Aquarius where we're going beyond the replication of the designs of the past. We're bringing in new mythologies into existence here. And this is the past life energy. Right now, all energies are rising. This is why prophecies are coming to light. Okay. Cataclysms are coming to light. It's the cataclysm of consciousness. All past energies which need to live, which need to be recognized and awakened through our consciousness, are coming to light right now. You don't need to choose one thing, be all things. Allow the energy, the emotions to come into you, to pass through you, to be recognized. Realize that you, in your life, you help all these trapped energies grow. We're cultivating them ignorantly. And so the cultural experiences, the systems, and the histories of the past, they aren't you. You can honor the good and the bad and take it for what it is and make the most of it in this life. And if you can fall into this ignorant fool, the purity of your creation, then you can break the replication. You can bring in something from the cosmos. You can channel a new expression. You can grow the mythologies. And you can put to rest the ghosts in the machine so that this system can fold and we can create a new expression of life. And yeah, eventually we build the mountain of Capricorn, but we got a few thousand years before we need to worry about that. This is the time to embody change, and the energies are behind us in this process.
Yeah, like just like you were saying, I agree with all of that. That technically, like we are coming, especially because of the year 10, the year 0 and the 1 this year, which is the full magician, the 10, the wheel of fortune. the wheel is really turning. And this is a card 10, and you can see, like, like we mentioned, this woman kind of looks like an empress, like with the pregnant belly. You have the flower of life, you have the crystal, and it says the crystal kingdom. Here you go, celestial channel. So it's like, and she's sitting on amethyst, and it's all this green stuff, heart chakra, the amethyst connecting to the higher chakras, the crown chakras. And also this woman is dressed all in green. So again, we have the heart chakra, like how do you say, reference. So what these cards, and actually all three of them, because you can see he's turning his back, it says like past life 24, this is a card 6. So the balancing of the karma, I was talking about this a lot last year, with Saturn on the final degrees of Pisces, moving into Aries and then back in Pisces and now out of Pisces, for the next 3 decades almost. Like, you are not here to repeat the past. Now in this time and age, Aquarian age, with Pluto in Aquarius, and now back with Uranus in Gemini, you are not here to keep recreating the past. Your soul chose something different. If you're still here and you're going to be here for the next 20 years, you chose something different. So like Aaron said, take the best, leave the rest, with the peacock, like that. It's not, you don't have to stay loyal, like with the peacocking, like showing up like, oh yeah, this was what my ancestors achieved, so I have to hold on to it for dear life. You didn't come here to recreate the past. You didn't come here to recreate the image, to recreate the whatever was the purpose they lived for. You came here to find your own. How are you going to find it? We have to start living life differently, from not from the mind, from the higher mind, from the heart. So like I was saying, these 6 full moons we'll be having now until the Pisces full moon lunar eclipse at the end of August. They are illuminating to us what was seeded at the end of 2025 and beginning of 2026, with the 6 lunations which started from the Libra new moon until the Pisces new moon of this year. They seeded this energy of 10, this energy of what is this year 10 really about. It's about, and from Libra into Pisces is the upper hemisphere of the chart. This is the collective expression. It's not just about me. It's not just about you. We are part of it, but this is now about Aquarius. It is like how Aaron says, what is it, oneness through diversity. It's we are all, unity through a diversity. We are connected, but through unique expression of your soul. It's no longer about recreation of the Piscean age. It's about becoming what you came here to be, to add your unique signature to this cocktail of human experience. So I feel with this, because Scorpio, Pluto, right, ruled by Pluto, traditionally ruled by Mars, who is still in a sign of Aries. So we had Mars for the new moon in Aries and Mars for the full moon in Scorpio, in the sign of his rulership. Aries, what is Aries? About new beginning. Mars is the ruler of Saturn for next 2 years, the ruler of Neptune for next 12 years. So this is very important archetype. Is saying we are in this year 1 where we are stepping into this new cycle with all these new energies, and in order to get into this new way of creating, it cannot be done from the mind. It cannot be done the way this reality was created. It has to be a different place. So Scorpio in particular, especially because it was in a T-square with Pluto, which created all that pressure, like, hey, listen, we have to transmute through this. We have to become, transmutation is not about the same but better. It's something completely different. The butterfly is never going to be a caterpillar, just different color. It's something completely different. Caterpillar doesn't fly. It's a completely different animal over here. So that's what we're saying. There is new earth being born, new version of yourself, just like this girl, right? A future version of yourself which already exists. Your higher self, know exactly where you're going. There's no mistake, there is no surprise. Everything that's happening, it's divinely orchestrated. It's everything is happening exactly by plan. Even though I might not understand, it might not make any sense to me, but it is happening exactly in accordance with the divine plan. So it's saying everything is in place. All you need to do is to just allow yourself to become and connect with that something that knows everything, the crystalline energy, the crystal, which holds the memory of everything. Is the best hard drive you can imagine, right? So the way we're gonna do it is through the heart. How are we gonna do it? Just take what holds the meaning from the past and leave the rest. You are not here to recreate your ancestors' part. You are here to create your own. So all of these cards are indicating that yes, we are being encouraged, we are being supported to start embodying this new frequency, which is different from the old. It's not better or worse, it's just different. It's Aquarius, right? So we break in the patterns, and the way we learn in how to do it is to interact with reality in a different way, which is not mind-led. It's something beyond the understanding of the mind, and that's what we are learning to calibrate to through conflict. In many cases, conflict through situations that are hard, overwhelming. The world gives us plenty of opportunities for that, to seek the answers in a different way, to seek them within. In some ways, not even care much about the answers, just understand that there is something that knows, and all I need to do is just follow my bliss, follow what makes me happy, follow that something that gives me the sense of peace. Even though the world maybe right now doesn't give me the sense of peace, but don't rely on something external to give it to you. You have to find it in yourself. That's what we all learn in how do I find it in myself in a world that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, that's the fool's journey. The ignorance is required for wisdom. So we're coming out of the time where knowledge is key and it's gnosis. So you got to get into the felt presence. You got to start to live life. And everything that we're creating in society through the system is very static oriented. It wants to tap into the projected icon of your creative being through denial, through lowest common denominator denialship. And so this is where we start to see virtue become the highest accolade that a slave casted mind can achieve. It's like, well, I was a good boy, I was a good girl, I did what was nice. But we got to be right here. We got to do what's right here. And we got to stand in the truth of our authentic expression. And to do that, which is a paradox because you don't know what it is. You can't know. Otherwise, you're just replicating the programs of the past. It is a strange conundrum. But I can tell you this, we're waking from the Piscean dream. Neptune was in its rulership. Now we're waking up, and Aries is literally 4 a.m. to 6 a.m. You're getting your ass out of bed. And it's from a nightmare. And I'm telling you, there's always good in polarity with bad. Every darkness has the seed of light, and every light has the seed of darkness. So it's early morning, it's dark out. You got to be the fire, you got to be the spark, which creates this new day. And that's what we're coming into. And now with Pluto about to hit retrograde in a few days at 5 degrees of
30 minutes.
5 degrees, 30 minutes of Aquarius, in a trine with Uranus and Venus here, and sextiling all that first decan stuff in Aries. Mars about to hit the third decan of Aries while this retrograde begins. This is about Four of Wands energy. So waking from a nightmare into a dream to become. And we're becoming foundation in ourselves. How do you live a good life? How do you feed and nourish your spirit so that you know what a good life could be? It's not the outcomes of the past. It's beyond that. Right.
I feel that's also what was the Saturn in conjunction to South Node during the full moon, and also Pluto eventually will be in an exacting conjunction with the South Node in Aquarius, going retrograde soon on the 6th. So that's what we've got going. Like, you cannot look at the past because the past is not here to be recreated. You have to keep looking forward. So we're learning how to do that.
Yeah, very well said. That's that nine of, well, Virgo, which is the first decan of Virgo where the South Node is, and with Pluto making that in conjunction, that is literally the transformation of realization.
And also the Saturn during the full moon, Saturn in Aries in conjunction to the South Node in Virgo.
Yeah. Yeah, that's about becoming your own authority. So here I just what deck is this?
This is the Tarot of the Night, Tarot de la Nuit.
So
we have all nights and dreams in this selection.
We've got this beautiful woman, celestial being. This is the Nine of Pentacles, and it looks like she's standing in front of a portal or an eclipse, maybe an eclipse portal. So, Nine of Pentacles, this is about being your own authority through being able to provide and create whatever you need in this reality, bringing manifest form into becoming. And a lot of what we think is valuable or think is abundance is relative to previous beliefs,
Hmm.
the casting of previous beliefs. But everything you need is within you.
Hmm.
It's just that this sense of self that you think is you is tied into systems of the past, dynamics in relations of the past. So just know that you are a self-creating being. You have everything you need within you to create this foundation of life so that you can provide for you and those you care about. Right? We've got Page of Pentacles here. And so she's holding this, looks like a star. It's this,
Crystal.
yeah, crystal, this potential, as you said, the memory of the past, but it's also the memory of creation. And when you add the page to the nine, you get the 10. So, how can you embody this Nine of Pentacles energy in the simplest ways, in the smallest ways? It's just making small changes. Now, Nine of Pentacles is second decan of Virgo. And I view the pages as a wake up between the queen and the king. It's when you come into the kingdom of heaven within yourself, you're realizing that you're more than you thought you were. Every possibility, potential is actually relative to your sense of self-worth, your compassion for yourself. That is in direct correlation to your consciousness, like what you can see, what you will allow to be a possibility. So know that you hold the keys to create. And on the bottom of the deck here, ooh, another Knight
Two
of
Pentacles.
Pentacles. So we're in Taurus season, another earth sign. So trining this Virgo energy and Capricorn. How can you utilize what's good, the best of the old, what's in the system that works? What is at the base of all system? It's creation. We have the power to create. We have the ability to create. And we don't often see the value of our creations because we can't find a place for them in this world. But when you focus on the creation of a foundation of self, you develop yourself by basically stripping the layers of who you are not and relieving yourself of the abstractions that aren't working for you. Maybe a job that's going nowhere, maybe a relation that's going nowhere, or a belief that's actually limiting you. When you start to cut those things away, burn through those things, you're creating fertile soil for the seeds of your creative possibilities to grow. And you can choose what to water and what to leave. So this is a lot of embodied energy here. And this is at our fingertips. We're coming into that new moon in Taurus, so it's very appropriate.
Yeah, I feel this like we were saying that during the full moon in Scorpio, we had the almost in pretty close in conjunction between Saturn and the South Node, and this, which is the Nine of Pentacles, is the second decan of Virgo, which is a Capricorn. So Saturn, Virgo, Virgo, Capricorn. So you can see, and it's interesting because in my own video, one of the cards that I pulled looked very similar. It was called Life. It was from Queen of the Sun, and it was this like man, like this old like king, and it was also in like this kind of tundra. So how I interpreted the card at the time, you can look at my YouTube channel if you're interested to hear which card I'm talking about. You can see there. And I said that, well, with the Saturn in Aries, this is a potential of what you want to manifest. Saturn is in Aries. It's all just a potential. It's all just a fire waiting to be created. So it's technically still frozen in time and space. It exists in different timelines, but it's not yet manifest in a form. So it's interesting here we have all these pentacle cards form, right? So same for this one, because we're talking about the divine feminine. How am I going to create a different reality? Well, it's not going to be from the mind, which is very masculine way of living, the doing, routine, the spreadsheets, the evidence, the logic, like all of these things, like, how am I going to do it? The step by, Virgo. Now, the step by step is actually the spirit will tell you what you need to know when you need to know it, not a moment earlier. Why would you need to know when we're going through such a massively fast transformation? The things are rapidly changing all the time. Why would you need to know what happens 1 year from now, when things might be changed, in few weeks, because the timelines are shifting all the time. So with this particular energy, the woman, like she's in front of this portal. So it's saying like, yeah, you learn in, just like Aaron said, you learn in your own authority. You learn in, that yes, to create takes responsibility, maturation, because whatever I'm creating, I'm responsible for. But that's the ultimate freedom. That's your ultimate choice of freedom of free will. So she's saying that, yeah, at the moment we are learning how to create consciously. So yeah, the manifestation is not instant. That will happen as the time goes on. So we are learning to follow the intuition and the guidance of our higher self, and to relax, become more at peace, that I don't need to know. I don't need to have it all figured out, because the reality we create in my mind cannot change. My mind cannot change the reality that is at the moment. It cannot change it. The higher self, the higher mind, the quantum field, the Aquarius Pisces, Pisces in the high frequency, which is the source, the potential of all that is, that can change it. I can't change it because my mind is limited by the past. So this woman standing there is in her power. She's saying, yes, I'm learning to be Capricorn. I'm learning to be conscious creator of reality by the divine feminine, which is the receptivity, the intuition, the allowing, the power in vulnerability, in allowing, just allowing for things to come to me, and I can't control them. I don't know what the hell. I don't know when, So that's to me like a strong essence of that, standing in the power of not knowing. I don't know. And I still can be feeling empowered by not knowing, because I trust. I trust and surrender, and I have faith. And this is very difficult for the mind of the traumatized ego, trauma loop that live in every single one of our minds and program, because that's what we were programmed with. It's very hard to accept. What do you mean? I don't know. I can't plan. I can't control. I can't manipulate. And I'm supposed to be okay with that. Like, what kind of life? It doesn't make me feel safe. So that is the challenge. That is the caveat. That is the in conjunction between South Node in Virgo and Saturn in Aries, which is say, yeah, you can't know. You can't keep looking back, because then you're going to replicate the same thing, and you're not going to create something different. The new can only be created through the chaos, through the things you don't know. So then these two cards are telling you the how. This lady, she's again connected to crystals, to something that is like, you can see the light. In a sense, it looks kind of like a snowflake, something like, yeah, right, like a crystalline snowflake, something that you cannot truly understand. You cannot really trust. You cannot be like, what the hell is this? How do I identify it? So the Page of Pentacles, like, yeah, I'm the messenger, the Knight of Pentacles. Yeah, it's gonna take time. It's not gonna happen tomorrow. We have Saturn in Aries for another 2 years until Saturn moves into Taurus. The thing will not get a form fully. It doesn't mean it's not going to happen in your life, but we're talking about more collective energy, especially with Neptune in Aries. So it's saying, yes, you have to tune to your own light. You have to tune to your own guidance, with the Page of Pentacles, which is traditional Virgo, the new way of living, which is step-by-step process. How do I start living life in this different way? It's a step-by-step process. We need to learn to calm our nervous system, learn to adjust gradually. It will take time. So this one is just saying it will take time. Yeah, there is a battle ahead of us. It's not necessarily in a physical realm, but yeah, it will take time. You have to find your own ego. You have to find your own sense of identity, your sense of righteousness. This is how it has to be. The ego wants to protect itself because that's how it guaranteed its survival. But this one is saying, well, in this new world which we creating, it's interesting that all of these are women. The divine feminine doesn't mean female. It means that this a different way of living. The red, we're creating a new foundation, Taurus, right? Foundation. These are all earth signs, earth signs. Whether you look at Taurus, Virgo, Capricorn, we are learning to embody a new way of creating. How are we gonna do it? Well, gradually, step by step. We learn as we go, but we know that there is a different way, and it's through this. You see the blues, the purples. It's this higher intellect, higher mind, different connection to something other than just the lived experience. But we don't ignore it. We don't bypass it. We're not trying to transcend the human experience. We try to improve it, like make it something different, something that is more fair, more just, more Aquarian.
Mhm. Yeah, in alignment with eternal creation. Yeah, very well said. Yeah, it is truly in the unknown, and as Mila said, you will know when the time is right. And we're coming out, as I mentioned, coming out of knowledge for gnosis. And a lot of that is hard to share. That's why they say those who know do not speak, and those who speak do not know. It doesn't mean that you shouldn't speak or that you can't truly hold anything of value that you can bring into the world. It means that you're learning as you go, and the language will keep growing as you grow. And it takes time. And in Zen, it can be 1,000 lifetimes or it can happen in a second. This is one of the proverbial beliefs. And I truly know that for a fact, because how many eureka moments do you have? How many deja vus do you have before you realize that your consciousness is multivalent? It spans all time, all space.
Hmm.
There are things beyond your conception. Only your imagination can touch them, but you got to care enough to get into that childlike wonder, into that creative spark, that eternal creation. And this is the honor of all life. It's about honoring your authentic expression through the ignorance where creation lives. And when you're in gnosis, you are in ignorance because you can't share that with anyone else until afterwards. Then it's in the presence of your being. And the presence of your being is in the heart, and you start to communicate through that and you transmit the knowledge, the wisdom, the perspectives. And everyone you meet has this. They have the capabilities and they've had experiences of gnosis. And when you are honoring it within yourself, you will be reciprocal and you will be in relation with people that honor it within themselves and they will bring it forward. And those who are on the path to this process will come to you and they will dissolve who they thought they were through your nemesis to their hubris. So we're in the absolution phase of the death of all belief. And only the true will survive, only the strong will remain. And that's just the elemental expressions of spirit. So be the fire, be the creative, and embody that in your life. And allow the fool to live through you.
Yeah.
Do you have anything else you want to add?
Not really. Like, just I really feel that this year is and I know that's been said before, and I even said it myself, I'm sure, but we are but really at the important crossroads because we are resetting cycles and we are choosing.
Mm.
And as I mentioned before, the quality of your choice, I mean, you can put it that way, depends on your relationship to yourself. The Chiron coming into Taurus in June. So, we are in the month of or the season of Taurus. So this is why it is so important. These lunations are foundational. They're saying that yes, your upcoming choices, the future choices are actually happening now,
Mm.
depending how you are responding and digesting and integrating these energies which you are experiencing at the moment, because everything has a ripple effect. Everything is always just like when you follow the astrology and look at the chart of the full moon, new moon, full moon, new moon, and then if you look at the same sign, in this case we just had a full moon in Scorpio. Okay, see it with new moon in Scorpio. What was happening then? What's happening now? Everything is always building up on itself. So the cycle always just evolves and expands. It doesn't really end. So this is what I mean. This is for micro, macro, my life, your life, everybody's life, but this is also the life of everything, right? Because everything is continuously in movement and in motion and in this process of change. So what are you changing to? that's your choice. What is the world changing to? These are collective contracts. This is not for one person to influence, but the many will change it, right? So each person for themselves will decide, this is my choice. This is what I want to create. This is what I want to focus on because I deserve better to what was before. And I know that because of how it makes me feel to experience what was before in current present reality, like the wars or in whatever it is that, whatever it is in the world that we are experiencing. So this is how I can choose, like, yeah, no, thank you. I have gone this. My ancestors gone through this. My former versions of myself gone through this. In a sense, they're still going through this in these different times and space. In different dimensions. It's all happening simultaneously, right? But from my linear point of view, I am choosing this. I am choosing to bridge the gap between this potential of the future version of myself that already exists somewhere else. How am I going to do it? We are learning to connect in a different way with the content, like the endless creative power of the universe, the seed of life. The life is always being created, just like they would say, like, well, if you're still experiencing the same thing every day, you just keep recreating the same thing. It doesn't mean you're not creating, you just keep recreating the same thing. And in order to create something else, we have to go beyond the program. So this is where that card, right? This one, the Six of Swords, like we are learning, what is dead. The pattern is dead. We are learning to move away from the pattern of the mind that keeps replicating the same reality over and over and over again. So in a sense, it is not what it seems. It is not what we are experiencing. It is something different entirely. But what that really means for you is for you to figure out. So that's why with full moon in Scorpio, we were just being forced to go deep, to really wonder and ponder, what does this really mean for me? And where am I going with this? And where do I want to be 6 months from now? Where is the next new moon in Scorpio? Where do I want to be? What do I want to see? What do I want to experience? Especially when these very powerful energies on these analytic degrees that we have in play, Neptune, Uranus now on zero, right? We have a lot of, very powerful, strongly concentrated energies that are offering the potential, and soon to be the Jupiter on 29 degrees on Cancer before we know it at the end of June, and then soon to be Chiron on 29 degrees of Aries, and then 0 degrees of Taurus, and then soon to be the nodes on these 0 degrees of Pisces, Virgo, then moving into 29 of Aquarius of Leo. Like, this is not a time to be wasted by focusing on the past, focusing on the distraction of something that I don't wish to recreate again. No, thank you. So this is why it is so important to be very aware.
And the more you move into your authenticity, the more you allow others to do the same. And we need to create a migration strategy because the system is not going to be very accepting of creation. It's going to want to further project its perfected replication, which is planned obsolescence and the limitation of life, essentially automating things to a perfected design. So we have to create meaningful creations in existence. These are community-oriented goals, be the foundation of self, bring that into your relationships, create community through those dynamics, and the true meaning of creation will be embodied, and you will create opportunities for each other and yourself and alternatives to a dying system. So we need to create new systems. And we will take the best of the old and bring it forward through this spirit.
So yeah, full moon in Scorpio.
Mm.
It is deeply illuminating the patterns that need to change and how step by step we can transform the old pattern, make new patterns, the Taurus Virgo. And then with the new moon in Taurus, we'll be seeding the foundation of the creation we want to bring into form, coming with Saturn in Taurus in 2 years' time. So this is why these times are very important. What really matters to you. This is what most people are having the opportunity to reevaluate now with Uranus out of Taurus, like what actually really matters, what is really the value of life, what is the value of my life, what holds a value in my life, so this is why the things are intense. They are intense in the world because they stripping us to the core essence of what are we really here for? What is life really for? Why did I even come to this earth? To just starve my soul by, dead end job with no meaning just to survive? Is that even worth fighting for just to survive? Like what it is that I'm here for, especially going forward, because these new timelines are all there. It's just a matter of how am I going to bridge the gap between where I am to this timeline that I wish to be experiencing and embodying going forward. So that's what we're learning, and that's the process. That is the process of the Pentacles, like. And yeah, with regards to physical form, it will take time. But with regards to energy, there is no time and space.
Yeah. And that disconnect, the old systems, the old dynamics, the old relationships, it doesn't mean that they're wrong or that you're leaving people behind. It means that you are freeing yourself up to be an authentic creator. You are allowing them to do the same, and you will bring anyone and anything which is in resonance with you forward. If you love that, if you love them, if you love the situation, the culture, the society, the system, whatever is pure within those things, you will bring forward. You're not abandoning it. You're not cutting it to burn. You're only taking out what is inauthentic and unnecessary for new creation. So this is a purging energy.
Oh, because if nothing changed, nothing will change, right?
Mhm.
All right.
All
On
right.
that note,
Well, thanks for watching, listening, and being. And we hope you have a good Taurus season. And we will follow up with you for the new moon in Taurus, maybe before then, if anything arises.
yeah, with Beyond Replication
Yes.
or here with
Yeah.
more cards.
Yeah.
All right, everyone, have a great weekend. We haven't decided when we're publishing this, but I assume sometimes at this weekend, and we'll see you in the next video.
Take care.
Bye.